It happened in broad daylight. A blind veteran froze as a police cruiser screeched to a halt. Before he could raise his cane, a taser fired. His K9 guide collapsed, convulsing on the asphalt. Harrison screamed for his dog, but the officers shouted commands he couldn't see. Then the ground suddenly began to shake. Before we dive deeper into this shocking story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We bring you true stories of justice served every single week. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from today? Drop your country name in the comments below. I love seeing how far our stories travel across the globe. Your support helps us share these important messages. Now, let's go back to where it all began on that very rainy morning. Rain had washed the morning streets clean, leaving the air sharp and cool as Harrison Cole stepped out of his small apartment. One hand held his white cane. The other rested gently on the harness of his loyal K9 guide, Valor. For a blind man, every intersection, every sound, every shift in the wind mattered. But with Valor beside him, Harrison walked with a confidence he hadn't felt since before the explosion overseas took his sight. "Easy, boy," he murmured as they approached the crosswalk. Valor stopped, scanned the street, then nudged Harrison forward. It was supposed to be an ordinary trip to the grocery store, just a quiet morning until the moment that changed everything. A siren wailed in the distance, then another. Harrison froze instinctively. He sensed danger, but he couldn't see what was happening. Valor tensed, planting himself between Harrison and the sound. The dog's muscles coiled tight under Harrison's grip. Harrison trusted Valor more than anyone. The dog had saved his life in Kandahar, and now he guided him through a world of darkness. They stood still on the corner, waiting for the light to change, unaware that trouble was speeding toward them in a black and white cruiser. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of ozone and trouble. Harrison's heart rate spiked. He couldn't see the clouds gathering, but he could feel the true storm coming. Harrison wore his faded army jacket, a quiet badge of honor that went unnoticed by the hurried crowd. He adjusted his grip on the leather harness. Valor whined softly, a low sound of warning that only Harrison could interpret. The traffic light clicked, signaling walk. Harrison stepped off the curb, trusting his companion implicitly. The rain felt cold on his face, masking the sweat forming on his brow. It was a symphony he knew well, but today a discordant note was entering the melody. The sirens grew louder, closer, piercing the ambient noise of the morning commute. Harrison stopped again. Valor stopped with him, rigid as a statue. Something was wrong. The air pressure dropped. He whispered a command, but Valor refused to move. The dog was protecting him from something invisible, something approaching fast. Harrison stood exposed on the concrete island, vulnerable and unaware that eyes were watching him through a dark police windshield. "Hey, you stop right there," an officer shouted. Harrison turned toward the voice. "Officer, is everything okay?" he asked, raising his cane slightly so it was visible. But the officer didn't notice the cane. He didn't see the service dog's vest. All he saw was a man ignoring commands. "Put your hands where I can see them." Confused, Harrison lifted them slowly. Valor barked once, sharp, warning, protective. The officer's tone hardened. Sir, do not resist. Harrison's chest tightened. I'm not resisting. I'm blind. But the words were swallowed by adrenaline, fear, and a terrible misunderstanding that was about to erupt. Valor sensed the surge of tension, the sudden aggression radiating from the officer, standing only a few feet away. His ears shot up, his body stiffened, and a deep, protective growl rumbled in his chest. Harrison tightened his grip on the harness, feeling the dog's reaction, but unable to see what triggered it. Officer, please, Harrison said, voice shaking. I can't see you. My dog is just quiet, the officer snapped, stepping closer. You were told to stop. Last warning. Bystanders slowed their cars. A woman across the street started recording. Someone shouted he was blind. But the officers were too locked into the rush of adrenaline to hear anything except their own assumptions. Valor barked again, louder this time, stepping in front of Harrison like a shield, and then the sharp crack of a taser firing. The electric prong struck Valor's chest. The dog yelled, collapsing instantly. Harrison screamed, dropping to his knees. Valor, no, no! His trembling hands searched frantically for the dog, but he could only feel the lifeless weight pressed against the pavement. Stop resisting! Another officer yelled. I'm not! I'm trying to reach my dog, Harrison pleaded, tears already mixing with the rain on his face. But before he could finish the sentence, a seco. No, no! His trembling hands searched frantically for the dog, but he could only feel the lifeless weight pressed against the pavement. Stop resisting! Another officer yelled. I'm trying to reach my dog, Harrison pleaded, tears already mixing with the rain on his face. But before he could finish the sentence, a second taser fired. The electricity ripped through his body. Harrison convulsed, his cane skittering across the asphalt, his fingers clawing helplessly at the ground. Cars honked. People yelled. Phones came out. Chaos spread like fire. And Valor, the dog who once survived a battlefield, lay motionless beside him for a moment. The entire street fell into a stunned silence, broken only by Harrison's gasping breaths and Valor's faint, pained whimpers. Then, like a fuse finally igniting, the crowd exploded. What are you doing? Someone shouted. He's blind. Another yelled, You tasered a service dog. People rushed toward Harrison. The situation spiraled. A young woman named Elena, a nursing student walking home from class, dropped to her knees beside a nearby curb, hands shaking as she dialed 911. She had seen the patch on Harrison's jacket, the faded army insignia he still wore with quiet pride. Veteran attacked, she told the dispatcher urgently. His service dog is down. He's down. You need to send someone now. Local police are already on scene, the dispatcher replied. No, Elena whispered, voice trembling with anger. You truly don't understand. The police did it all. The dispatcher paused. Then I'm transferring you to military emergency response. Across the street, another bystander, an older man, recognized Harrison instantly. That's Sergeant Cole, he murmured. He saved my nephew overseas twice. Within minutes, alerts were triggered, radios crackled, orders were issued that a report went out. Decorated blind veteran injured by local police. Service dog incapacitated. Immediate response requested, and the military did not hesitate. The ground began to tremble before anyone saw the vehicles. A deep, rumbling vibration rolled through the intersection, silencing even the angriest voices. Heads turned, phones lifted, and then through the distant shimmer of heat, 3 military Humvees burst into view, speeding toward the blocked-off street with sirens that weren't police but tactical. "Why is the army here?" an officer muttered, fear creeping into his voice. The convoy didn't slow down. It dominated the road. Humvee skidded to a halt just feet from the stunned officers. Doors flew open. Soldiers, fully geared military police, flooded out, forming a protective wall around Harrison's trembling body and Valor's motionless form. "Step back," the commanding MP barked. "This veteran is under military jurisdiction now. One officer tried to protest. You can't. This is our scene," the MP got in his face. "You tossed a blind sergeant and his active duty certified service dog. You are done talking." Medics rushed to Valor first. The dog's chest rose faintly, shallow, weak, but alive. A second team lifted Harrison gently onto a stretcher when the commanding officer saw Harrison's name patch. His expression changed instantly. "Sergeant Cole," he whispered, stunned. "He saved my unit and Kandahar." Rage replaced shock. Turning to the officers, he pointed at their tasers. "Body cams. Now, hand them over." The police hesitated. Big mistake. But MPs stepped forward, hands on their belts. "This is no longer your investigation." The officers hesitated. The military police closed in, and suddenly their badges didn't feel like protection anymore. One MP ripped the first body cam off an officer's vest. Another collected the tasers, tagging them as evidence. The police chief, who had just arrived and tried to act in control, froze when he saw the military convoy. "This is a breach of protocol," he began. The commanding MP cut him off cold. "The only breach here is your department's assault on a blind war hero." He played the footage. The video didn't lie. Showed Harrison calmly crossing the road. It showed Valor guiding him. It showed the officer screaming commands Harrison couldn't see. And it showed the taser firing without justification. But the audio was worse. Point one officer laughed. "Betty's faking being blind." Another muttered, "Dog better not bite me. I'll fry him." The crowd gasped. Soldiers exchanged disgusted looks. The MP lieutenant shook his head slowly. "These men are under arrest," he said. The officers were cuffed on the spot, stunned, humiliated, powerless. Meanwhile, medics lifted Valor into a military transport, Harrison's hand resting weakly on the dog's fur. For the first time since the chaos began, justice was finally moving. Harrison walked slowly, the sterile hum of machines filling his ears. Was Valor truly alive? The dog whimpered softly, his bandaged chest rising and falling. Harrison's breath broke with relief as he reached out, fingers trembling, brushing the dog's fur. "You're okay? You're okay, buddy?" he whispered